guys, it's Anissa. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we did another full face of first impressions testing new makeup. I have a mix of drugstore makeup and I have a mix of high-end makeup. I actually have attempted to film this video 3 separate times, so I'll get more into that in the beginning of the video. This is the look we were able to come up with. The eyeshadow look is kind of a subtle pop of color, a little bit of green, and I cannot wait to share some of these products with you guys. If you're interested to see how I came up with this look and what products I used, then make sure to keep on watching. But before we go any further, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I post on this channel every 4 days, so you never have to miss me for too long. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. I filmed half of this video 2 days ago when I got all the way to setting underneath my eyes. Usually it takes me 1.5 to 2 hours to film these videos, and I only had an hour slot window. And I was like, okay, I can get this filmed. We're gonna do it real quick, easy. Not a good idea. I just felt like everything was really rushed. I felt like I wasn't giving you guys thorough reviews of everything. I just scratched it and I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and do it another day and give myself plenty of time, that way I don't have to rush. I tried filming the intro of this video 10 minutes ago, and I got into the brows, and for a very long time I did not tweeze the bottom of my eyebrows because I was too scared. I was afraid that I was gonna take away too much hair, and then it was really hard for me to carve them out and make them look nice. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna restart this and I'm gonna tweeze the bottom of my brows, which I did, and I'm so happy I did. I've tried the brow product twice now, so I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what I like. And then everything up until setting underneath my eyes I have tried. So you're getting like a third slash second slash first impression all in one. For brows today, I'm just going to be using this Morphe brow cream, and this is in the color Chocolate Mousse. I actually usually use a pencil and a pomade on my brows. I never use just pomade, but I didn't have a new pencil and I was like, you know what? We're feeling spicy today. This is what the inside of it looks like. You guys can tell it has been used. And you can also tell that it is a very espresso-y dark chocolate color. Black on my eyebrows personally, I think looks a little bit too harsh. I use a dark brown, espresso, black brown, and you guys will be able to see once I fill in my brows, it still looks black. So it makes them look a little bit more natural, not super like filled in and carved out. Just going in with a dual-ended spoolie, and we're gonna go ahead and fill the brows in. You guys see how pigmented that is? And I always outline first and then I fill in. I feel like that brow shape suits my face so much better. I had so much extra hair down here that's really why I love to carve them out, because I was like, okay, well, I'm afraid to get rid of this extra hair. And the reason I really didn't ever mess with the hair on my bottom for a really long time until today was because one time I really over tweezed them and it took me forever to grow them out. So ever since then, I really just like spot tweeze them. I don't ever really like go in. So I'm really happy. If you found your brow shape that you love, you know how exciting it is. It doesn't look dark brown, it looks black. It looks like it blends in with the rest of my hair. Very creamy, very pigmented. You guys could tell from the first swipe. Very easy to work with. When you blend it out, it really doesn't smudge a whole lot. The only reason that I always note that is because I know not everybody does their brows first, so I like to note that for people who don't. That is a 10 out of 10 brow. Now this brow, I think I over tweezed a little bit at the end. There was a really harsh line right there, and now that I'm blending the product out, it's just blending away seamlessly. Sometimes if products aren't creamy enough, you will keep that harsh line and you won't be able to make it look really natural. Not only do I love this new shape that I have, I feel like it's a lot more flattering. And if you guys can't tell a big difference, then that's okay, but I can, and it makes me happy. So just let me live. This is my 3rd time using this product. I prefer to use pencils over pomade, and I could definitely see myself using just pomade. This is not a new product, but I'm just gonna show you guys what I'm using to carve out my brows. KEVYN AUCOIN, the Sensual Skin Enhancer in the color SX12. You get so much product in here. Like, it's a very pricey concealer, but the pot is huge. Like, all of that is product. Let me go ahead and carve out my brows and I will be back. I have not been this happy with my eyebrows in such a long time. This is your sign that if there is something in your life that you have been wanting to do but you're too scared to do, freaking do it, okay? I already went ahead and primed my eyes using this MAC paint pot in the color Soft Ochre, just like a very light cream vanilla color. And now we are gonna get into eyeshadow. I'm very excited to show you guys this palette and this eye look because I was actually pleasantly surprised with how good it turned out. Not a new brand to me. I have reviewed so many of these palettes. This is the Nubian 2 by JUVIA'S, and this is what it looks like. This color palette is everything. It's very neutral and very friendly, but it also does have some pops of color. The first thing I wanted to do was use this green. I'm gonna go ahead and use this shade down here, deep burnt orange color. It's called Morocco, and I'm just starting by putting this color in my crease. I love Juvia's Place in general. The only palette that I was not super impressed with them was the first Nubian, which is like a much more nude everyday type of palette. I really was not super impressed. Never have I been disappointed with the formula except for in those. So I don't know if they did something different or what. Taking a clean fluffy blending brush and just blending out the edges of that and really diffusing it. It's almost like a green slash brownish color, Madagascar right here. I'm building on top of the orange that I just put down. So I'm just gonna use the same brush. No need to use a clean one because the colors are gonna mix anyway. We are going to deepen up the outer crease area. This color right here and this color. This is Jezebel and this is Kenya. I packed those on the outer crease. They are pigmented, but that's why I don't mind that I kind of have to work my way up to the pigment with some of the colors. And what I appreciate about Juvia's Place, their shimmers are just as good as their mattes. I know it looks crazy now, guys, but I'm telling you. I realize that I tell you guys all the time, using setting spray with your eyeshadow is a really good idea, but I've almost kind of like grown out of that. I really like to use my fingers just because it's quicker, but I do want to get back into showing you guys that, especially when I'm testing new products. That way I can tell you if it works better with the brush or if it works better with your fingers, or sometimes they'll give you different looks. So like sometimes if you spray setting spray with a shimmer, it kind of makes it a little bit more foily and creamy. I'm going to do setting spray and brush on this side and then fingers on this side. I'm going to take the colors Egypt and Yeah. I think I like it so much because it's almost like a neutralized green. It's not a super icky yellowy green. I'm gonna do gold and then green. I know it's a very weird color combo. I swear to you guys, it looked so good when I did it the other day. To blend the gold and the green together, I just start in the middle where they meet and I zigzag across. That way a little bit of the gold goes over here and a little bit of the green comes over here. Outside, I just kind of lightly gradiently push the green over. Then I'm just gonna go back in with those two purpley shades that I used to help blend and also give a little bit more depth to the outside of the eye. We have a nice lid thing going on. You can still see the orange up at the top, but I just want to intensify it just a little bit more. So I'm gonna mix Morocco and Madagascar this time, those first two mattes that I used, and just blend. This is also gonna help the shimmers blend up into the crease a little bit better. There is the eye look. I'm gonna put some eyeliner with this look too. I'm gonna go ahead and use my finger on the other eye. Doing the same thing with my finger that I did with the brush, kind of zigzagging and patting back and forth. Only thing about using my finger, it's inevitable that I get shadow down here. Darkening that crease up. I do not have a new eyeliner, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use these e.l.f. eye tapes that I swear by. And then for my actual eyeliner, I'm going to be using e.l.f. H2O Proof Eyeliner Pen, and this is just in the color Jet Black. Wipe off any makeup that I got underneath my eyes for whatever reason. Usually have a little bit of eyeshadow on the outside of my liner. We are ready for complexion, my favorite part of makeup. I do have one new one and one that is not new. The one that's not new is this NYX Bare With Me. This is the hydrating jelly. I always use a hydrating primer and then I use like a pore filling slash mattifying primer. I feel like my hydrating primer makes my pore filling and mattifying primer's job a little bit easier. It's able to glide onto the skin a little bit better. I feel like the hydrating primer too, if I ever have any like dry patches on my face, that protects my pore filling primer and my mattifying primer and any other products from hanging onto it. We are just like an extra barrier. This is the Cover FX mattifying primer, and the reason that this intrigued me because it's supposed to have an anti-acne treatment in it. It has salicylic acid, doesn't say what percent. I feel like the drugstore does have a lot of really good pore filling primers for a very affordable price. There's very few high-end primers that like really stand out to me versus drugstore primers. And again, I have tried this primer. I felt like it worked like a standard primer did. It feels like it has silicone in it, but it does smell like skincare. This is one of those products that I would have to use for a little bit to be able to see how much it's really helping with my acne. It's almost, to me, more pore filling than it is mattifying. I mean, it does take away some of the shine, but there's still a little bit there. It's not one of those super, super light products. It's also not super heavy. It's just kind of like your standard feel. Now we are ready to get into foundation. All this makeup has been hauled in some video on my channel. I have a haul playlist specifically that I will put right up here for you guys to go check out. Makeup Forever Ultra HD Invisible Cover Foundation. It's supposed to feel like a second skin, but still provides medium coverage, light diffusing formula that looks natural and makes skin look flawless and feel moisturized. I just looked it up really quickly. It comes in 49 shades, which is freaking amazing. And it claims to be a natural finish. It's kind of weird because nowadays I kind of have been liking a more natural to soft matte finish versus, don't get me wrong, I still do love my matte foundations, but I found that especially since I've been using a lot of like cream products, the matte products don't always work really well with the cream. Got this in the color Y513. The first time I used this, I thought the match was all right. The shade is okay, but the undertone I think is just a little bit too yellow for me. So this is also not new. I use these to mix with any foundation, but these are the NYX Total Control Hue Shifters, and this is in the color Cool. I'm gonna take my Morphe mixing plate. Tell me why I literally made a whole video dedicated to my favorite makeup tools and sponges, and I forgot to put my Morphe mixing plate in the video. Honestly, that's so on brand for me though, like cannot even be mad because that's just so something that I would do. I suck at picking the right shade. Sometimes I get really lucky and I find an amazing shade, but if not, I'm too lazy most of the time to return it, so that's why I love these hue shifters because I can kind of customize my shade. This has been a lifesaver. I also loved using this. Sorry, it's a little bit dirty. Ooh. I also loved using this even when I'm not mixing because I don't have to get any foundation on my hands. When I mix, I like to make a little bit more than what I usually need because if you don't make enough, then you just have to mix all over again. So I'm gonna use 2.5 pumps, and keep in mind, I do use this to carve out my eyebrows too. Standardly, I would probably use like 1.5 to 2 pumps. Put like 2 drops of that in there. Whenever we test new foundations on this channel, we always do half sponge, half brush. I probably could have put a couple more drops in there, but I feel like this is a big difference than what it was. If you don't like to necessarily mix, if I have foundations that are too dark or too light and I know I don't want to mix, I will take a liquid foundation that's too dark and use a powder foundation that's too light, and usually I can like finagle my way through it. I would say that this is really like light to medium coverage because I can still see some of the redness in my acne peeking through. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can build it up, but I wanna see what it looks like up close first. This mirror needs cleaned so bad. Oh my gosh. Definitely skin-like. You know how some foundations like can almost make you look like you don't have acne? I found that more so with matte foundations because most matte foundations turn from like a matte to a powder, and powder is really good for like smoothing and filtering over stuff. That's the only time that I have found that foundation makes my texture look somewhat better. I don't expect foundation to do that. I just expect it to not make it look worse. But when it does do that, it's nice. On the face. But the match is not bad. If all of your little spots aren't covered and you're somebody that uses liquid foundation and powder foundation, don't worry about trying to cover everything with just your liquid foundation. Because most of the time, whatever your liquid foundation can't cover, your powder foundation will take care of. So you don't want to be like caking on all this liquid and then putting more powder on top of it when that can be avoided. Now, if you're using like translucent powder that does not have any coverage to it, you're gonna wanna make sure that everything that you want to be covered is covered before you put your translucent powder. You'll usually always get lighter coverage with a sponge than you will with a brush, which leads me perfectly into using my brush. I always like to take a little bit less on the brush side because you really just don't need it. Like, I have never tried a foundation where I got more coverage with a sponge than I did a brush. A sponge is a sponge, like it soaks up stuff. So naturally, you're gonna get a little less coverage. So you guys can see I used way less on this side, and I'm getting just about the same coverage that I did over on the other side. Now, what I will say, I tend to use a sponge more because I think it gives me a little bit more of a like skin-like finish, which is what I like. But I do like this formula. It's not thick feeling. It doesn't even have a thick consistency to it. It's very runny and creamy. I have tried foundations that were thick when you first put them on and you can't feel them. They're still very lightweight. Consistency isn't always everything, but I like to note that. I feel like it's definitely more buildable with a brush than it is a sponge. So if you're wanting the most coverage out of this foundation, definitely use the brush. This is very, very skin-like. I'm gonna go ahead and carve out my brows really quickly just using the same foundation. And by the way, I told you guys I put 2.5 pumps on here. I have a lot of extra product. I also do not put a whole bunch of foundation underneath my eyes just because I am a concealer lover. I'm honestly a really big fan of this. Does not feel super heavy on the face. I am curious to see how it wears. I would be curious to see how it photographs though. So since it does claim to be like a more photographic type of foundation, I will take a picture at the end. As I was carving out my brows, I did mention to you guys that I really do not put a whole lot of foundation underneath my eyes, because if there is one thing that I like to be full coverage, it is my concealer. I don't mind a medium coverage foundation. I really don't even mind a light coverage foundation, but concealer has to be full coverage. L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealers, and I got the colors 410 Almond and 415 Honey. Look at the hop in this color. I feel like L'Oreal is one of those brands that's always been like pretty good with having a nice shade range and not having a lot of hops and skips, especially on the darker end of things. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these two because I felt like this one was not brightening enough, but I was like, if I use this one, it's gonna look unnaturally bright. So I'm gonna use both. I'm gonna mix them. L'Oreal True Match is one of the, if not the first foundation that I ever used, because it was the only one that I was able to afford. And I'm telling you guys, I've been wearing makeup for probably like 6 years. 6 years ago, there was nothing for dark skinned girls in the drugstore, and that's all that I could afford as a 13-year-old. So this does claim to be full coverage, and it's supposed to be waterproof. So if it's not full coverage, I'm gonna be upset. I'm not sure if this is part of the Fresh Wear line. The L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear foundation is actually the first natural foundation that I really ever tried besides the Too Faced Born This Way. And I love it because it has such good wear time. It's so good. This would be perfect if I just was trying to do like a more natural makeup day, or even for spot concealing. I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in the center. So it's really more of the darker shade with just a little bit of the light shade. And this concealer is a little bit more on the pricey side. Taking out a sponge and blending out my product. Ooh, she has coverage. Actually pretty creamy, so I like that also. I have so many fine lines in my eyes that the easiest way I found to get concealer all the way underneath my eyes is if I look up. That is definitely full coverage. I always do this no matter what concealer I'm using. I always take my e.l.f. Flawless Concealer brush and I get right up underneath my eyes because I have so many little fine lines. The first time I did this, I didn't even like this concealer. If you're somebody like me who has lots of like little fine lines underneath your eyes, this step is so essential before you put your powder on, because if your cream is hanging onto your face weird before you put powder on, when you set it, it's not gonna change. It's gonna look probably even more cakey. I don't know if they're like acne bumps or if they're just little, like a rash or something, but I do have a couple little bumps like right underneath my eye up here. Makeup Revolution Banana Deep Loose Baking Powder. When I use new loose powders, I like to try it with a sponge and a brush, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm used to having a huge lid that I can knock my powder into. Yeah, this ain't gonna cut it. Just gonna take a little bit because last time I used too much. I like using a sponge with loose powder because I feel like you can really let it soak into your skin. But it did brighten. It looks smoother and brighter than it does over here. It's not hanging on, it's not acting weird, it doesn't look weird. I actually want to get a little bit in my hand. Oh my gosh, this powder is so velvety and soft. Very finely milled, which I found that finely milled powders do usually work a little bit better, especially underneath the eye area. This is the point that I got to when I filmed this video a couple days ago. So everything else after this, I really have not tried. That's honestly not bad either. I feel like I got a little bit more coverage over here from it, like a little bit more brightening. That side looks really good too. No complaints, 10 out of 10. If you guys are ever curious, the easiest way to keep updated on products that I've tried and I really don't incorporate in a video for a while is to look at my Shop My Stashes. I usually try to go through and give you guys little updates on stuff. Right now, I just have so much new makeup that I'm trying to show you guys everything and then kind of do repeats of stuff that I'm liking. I think it looks a little bit more smooth and filtered over here than it does on this side, but I am really happy. I'm happy with how this is going. I do not have any cream blush or cream bronzer, so I'm not gonna use anything of my own because I do have a powder blush and I wanna see how that does on its own. We're gonna try to set the face using this Essence My Skin Loose Finishing Powder, and this is in the color 30 Medium. I've never heard anybody talk about this. It is a little bit lighter, so I'm curious to see how it's gonna look on my face. At least it looks lighter in like this part of the pan. I was gonna use it underneath the eyes, but I really wanted to use that banana powder. I feel like we can definitely make that work. I don't ever usually use loose powder all over my face, so I guess we're just gonna do the half and half again. Half sponge, half brush. I'm gonna go ahead and use the sponge on this side. It's not super soft feeling, but it looks pretty smooth. The texture that I had on my face, because I do have a lot of little bumps and stuff right now. I'll show you guys up close that way you can kind of see. So like this side versus this side. I'm not going to use a powder puff because I feel like a powder puff and a sponge are pretty similar in coverage. I feel like I am gonna like this better for all over the face than for underneath my eyes because it is so cool. I honestly think that the sponge did a little bit better as far as filtering went than the brush did. It did a good job at mattifying, and it's supposed to be an instant blur effect with a natural matte finish. I like this side of my face better than this side of my face though. I want to do cheeks, lips, setting spray, and then finish up the eyes. I bought this off of recommendation from JUVIA'S. This is the BH Cosmetics Glowing in Grease 6-color blush and highlighter palette, and this is just what it looks like. The main reason I bought this was because of this color right here and this color right here. I don't very often use really pink blush. I like something that's more like brown and nude for my skin tone, but I feel like I can mix this color and this color if I wanted to. The highlighters are gorgeous. Blush, I actually want to use a mix of this and this. I'm gonna use a stippling brush. Well, it's showing up, but it's a little too light for me. I'm gonna go in with the color Santorini on its own. The lighter color is kind of making it look a little bit chalky. Hop over to this cheek really quick and just use Santorini. Unfortunately, the blushes are a little bit too light for me, so I went ahead and used Patrick Ta Double Take Cream and Powder Blush Duo, and the color Oshi's different, so I just used the powder color down here. I've been loving this blush. Unfortunately, the blushes are a little bit too light for me, but we're gonna go ahead and use the highlighters, because I'm thinking that if I at least like the highlighters, that I can keep this and then maybe use these as eyeshadows, because I would hate to get rid of it, especially if I end up liking the colors in here. I think I'm just gonna use Olympia. Oh, that's very pretty. I blend it out and diffuse it with a bigger brush so it looks a little bit more natural. I like the highlighter. I haven't used the two colors right here, but I feel like if you're lighter than me, if you give this a try and you like it, let me know. I can't really say that it's bad. I don't think is suitable for my skin tone, but the highlighters are really pretty, so I'm not mad about that. Now I want to go ahead and finish off the eyes. Set my face using setting spray, Hard Candy Matte Setting Spray, and it claims to have a 12-hour wear. It's supposed to be oil controlling and also minimizes pores. I can smell alcohol in it. I've had like the worst luck lately with setting sprays, especially in like full face of first impressions. I don't know, what do you think? Do I look more matte than before? Maybe that's why it's hard for me to tell if I'm matte, because I have so much nose highlight on. I'm gonna go back into our eyeshadow palette, just use Kenya on the lower lash line. It's not as pigmented as I wanted it to be, but it's all right. Don't have a new mascara, so I'm just going to be using this JCat Lengthening Mascara, which I really have been liking, especially for my lower lashes. Lined my lips using this Juvia's Place Luxe Lip Liner. This is in the color Cola, just a really pretty dark brown color. Last new product for today's video. These are the ColourPop Lippie Stick, and this is in the color Parker, and it's supposed to be a matte formula. Pinker than I thought. So this is what the swatch looks like on its own. I tend to not like super pink lipstick. I like more brown, but I actually like the combo. Usually if I can pair a pink lipstick with a really dark brown lip liner, I end up liking it, and it's okay. This was very creamy for it to be matte. It glided onto the lips. Very comfortable feeling, not super drying. I went ahead and took a picture to see how the foundation looked under photograph. Actually looks really pretty. No flashback, and it's nice to know that that powder doesn't have flashback either. Powder underneath my eyes did not have flashback. This is the finished makeup look for today. I'm actually very happy with how it turned out. Everything was honestly really good. The only thing I wanted to mention, as I was doing underneath my eyes, I felt like it was a little bit harder to get pigment. It could be because I'm not very aggressive with underneath my eyes. I like something that glides onto the skin because I don't like pulling and tugging at my under eye. I feel like really the only flop was this BH Cosmetics Glowing in Grease, but I feel like it wasn't the palette's fault, but the highlighters were really pretty. If you guys plan on trying any of these products, please let me know what you try, if you end up trying it, if you're going to, or if you like have any of these products and you're absolutely love them or you absolutely hate them. I want to know what you guys think, what your guys' thoughts are. If you guys are into binge watching, I have a whole playlist filled with full face of first impressions right up here for you guys to watch. I think that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.